The following announcement has been paid for by Perched on the Top Rope.
This is TNA wrestler Eddie Edwards.
This is Moose.
And you're listening to
Perched
on the Top Rope podcast. Check it out. Follow us.
Welcome, everyone, to Perched on the Top Rope. I am your host, former dirt sheet writer from Daily DDT, Ringside News, and Sportskeeda. I am your host, Lee Walker, and this is TNA Hard to Kill and Snake Eye Prediction Show. But first, we're going to talk about a few other things, such as the schedule that TNA put out for its new championships that everybody is going to get to see on hand these next 2 days if you're in Las Vegas. As over the course of a week, TNA with Scott D'Amore and those who are the champions were given their new championships, and there was a schedule starting last week on the 7th leading all the way up to the 13th today for the schedule, and these new belts look awesome. Now, the first belt was the X Division title that was announced on January 7th, which was given to Chris Sabin from Scott D'Amore, and it is so beautiful, ladies and gentlemen. Black strap with the classic X in the middle and the TNA logo on the main, new side plates. They are different shaped. They're more of like an ovalish than round, but it looks so cool. The next title was the TNA World Tag Team titles that were dropped on January 8th, which were awarded to Ace Austin and Chris Bay. And again, these belts are just beautiful. They have that classic red strap that we associate with TNA because of the red and the yellow. The red strap just pops with these silver plates. You know, the TNA logo, again, in the middle, they're great looking belts. This was followed by the TNA Digital Media Championship on January 9th, which Scott D'Amore presented to Tommy Dreamer. Very similar in look to the Impact Digital Media Championship. It has more of a different shape. The side plates have more of a curve to them, and I love how it has like the digitalness in the brass because it is gold. How it looks like internet wires type things and stuff like that, like the inside workings of a computer chip. It just looks really, really cool. The next was the TNA World title on January 10th that was awarded to Alex Shelley. And, oh, God. Guys, this belt looks so beautiful. It's got a beautiful black strap. It does look similar to the Impact World title. It's not round. It has sexy curves, and I know I'm describing a world championship belt with sexy curves, but trust me, it's really cool looking. And the last two was the Women's Knockouts World title, which was Scott D'Amore awarding it to Trinity Fatu with a classic white strap. It's beautiful, reminds you of the classic TNA, and just really, really presented well. I don't think words can truly describe how intricate the title is on the plates itself. However, you can clearly see that a lot of time and effort has gone into these championships. And tonight we will find out what the tag team knockouts championships look like at Hard to Kill. So let's go in and do our predictions for TNA Hard to Kill. Now, there is a pre-show, ladies and gentlemen, and there are 3 matches on there, including one title match. First, we have Rich Swann taking on Steve Maclin. Interesting note about Maclin, as we know, he is married to Deonna Purrazzo. Deonna Purrazzo just made her AEW debut not too long ago, and there were photos and videos of Steve Maclin being there for his wife as he was backstage and did watch her debut as she walked out and her music hit. Anyway, if you go based off height and size, this is Steve Maclin all day. However, I feel as though Rich Swann takes this one away, and away he goes. And the same could be said for Steve Maclin, and away he goes, because his wife left. And you can't tell me that Tony Khan didn't talk to Steve Maclin while Steve Maclin was behind the scenes at AEW Dynamite. But I digress, and I say Rich Swann wins this match. The next match is a tag team match making up the teams of Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers taking on a couple of TNA OGs, Eric Young and Frankie Kazarian. Now, Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards will, in fact, be wrestling at TNA Snake Eyes the next day. I think having them win this match would be a good way to generate a little extra heat for the next day. So I'm going to say Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers win this match. And I'm not saying that because I just had Eddie Edwards on the show or anything like that. Our next match, and the final match of the pre-show for TNA Hard to Kill, is a no disqualification match for the TNA Digital Media Championship, as the champion, Tommy Dreamer, will take on Crazy Steve. Now, I've interviewed Tommy Dreamer, and Tommy Dreamer is part of Busted Open Radio. I would think keeping the belt on him to discuss this on one of the most popular podcasts and shows out there would only further help TNA wrestling with ratings and new viewers and things to that nature. And because of that, I'm going to say that Tommy Dreamer is still your TNA Digital Media Champion. Now, the next match is ABC, Ace Austin and Chris Bay taking on in a 4-way dance the Rascalz of Zachary Wentz and Trey Miguel, taking on Speedball Mountain, Mike Bailey and Trent Seven, taking on the grizzly young vets of Zach Gibson and James Drake. Now, there's only a 25% chance of ABC going home as the champions, and there are several new talents here that TNA has picked up from the grizzly young vets. Trent Seven from all these guys, NXT UK members, which is phenomenal. Zachary Wentz had gone to NXT, and now he's back to Impact / TNA. Really, really great to see. If there's going to be a title change here, I'm going to say that the Rascalz, Zachary Wentz and Trey Miguel, win. Hashtag and new. TNA World Tag Team Champions tonight, calling it. Now, I want to take a break from talking about the matches that are going on this pay-per-view, because Scott D'Amore did make an announcement on Busted Open Radio a few weeks back saying that we were going to get the biggest signing basically ever in TNA history that TNA had set aside money for this particular person. Now, personally, I'm not sure who it is, but a lot of people like Will Ospreay have signed elsewhere. Matt Riddle has signed. Nick Nemeth has signed. When I sit here and I think free agents in professional wrestling, at that point, not a lot of names come to mind, because if it's the biggest signing they've done, I would personally be left to believe Mercedes Moné is the biggest free agent out there right now, and I still can't understand why. I don't think she's that great. Another name that comes to mind actually is Goldberg, who has voiced himself wanting one last match, and apparently no one wants to give it to him. But I bet you TNA would be willing to. I know it's not Okada. Okada has a match tonight, as New Japan Pro Wrestling has Battle of the Valley, ladies and gentlemen, that is taking place at the San Jose Civic Arena, which is over in California, ladies and gentlemen. But I guess we will have to wait and see who it is that's picked as this hottest free signing. And the next match I have to talk about is a one-on-one match. Josh Alexander taking on Alex Hammerstone. Now, Hammerstone is formerly of MLW and is currently a free agent as of January 1st. He did not re-sign with MLW. And I am expecting him to sign with TNA, but I'm not expecting him to be the big signing that we're talking about. As far as who's going to win this match, I think they want to make Hammerstone come in and make a way for himself, so Alex Hammerstone wins this match. Our next match is a Knockouts Ultimate X match for a future TNA Knockouts World Championship match. Which, ladies and gentlemen, if you're going to have these women do an Ultimate X match, you might as well come out with a Women's Ultimate X Championship. To be honest, I know this is more of a specialty match for the women, but just like the title, it's a specialty match for the men too. So in this match, we have Giselle Shaw, Isaiah Brookside, Jody Threat, Tasha Steelz, Alicia Edwards, and Danny Luna. And to be honest, I'm going to say Jody Threat. I have no rhyme or reason for anyone I'm picking. I just think Jody Threat seems like the most viable one. We've seen Tasha Steelz go for the championship. We've seen Giselle Shaw go for the championship. Alicia Edwards. That leaves Brookside, Threat, and Luna, in my opinion, and I just think Threat does it. The next match is a one-on-one match, as Dirty Dango takes on PCO, and man, oh man, Dirty Dango, I just hope you survive. The resurrection of PCO has been incredible since we saw him on the independent scene, and then make his way to Ring of Honor, and now he was the first signing of TNA Wrestling. I'm excited for this match. Dirty Dango, as some of you all know, formerly...
It's Fandango.
It's Fandango. Anyway, my money is going to PCO in this match. Now the next match is an X Division Championship match, as the champion, Chris Sabin, takes on El Julio del Vikingo and newly signed to TNA, Kushida. This is a rather difficult match. It's going to be an awesome match, to say the least. And a while back, I did say we were going to get some sort of mashup of Alex Shelley taking on Chris Sabin, title for title type deal. I don't know if that's still the case anymore. These guys have held the championships for longer than I had expected, personally. And with that being said, I don't see El Julio del Vikingo being the winner. I don't think he signed to the company. I still don't see it for some reason being Kushida. I'm going to say, and still, X Division champion Chris Sabin. Now the next match is a TNA Knockouts World Championship match as the champion Trinity takes on Jordynne Grace. Now we've had Jordynne Grace and Trinity on this show. You can go back and listen to the older episodes on Apple Podcast or Spotify, Perched on the Top Rope. My honest opinion here, we know that Trinity is in fact leaving TNA Wrestling and is going back to the WWE, so this is a no-brainer to me. It's a hashtag and new TNA Knockouts World Champion Jordynne Grace, and congratulations to her on that. And ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to our last match of TNA's Hard to Kill pay-per-view. It is the TNA World Championship. Alex Shelley taking on Moose. Now, both these competitors are advertised for TNA Snake Eyes, which is only 2 matches announced for that, by the way, which I found very odd, but I will talk about those 2 matches. And I know I said that Brian Myers and his tag team partner Eddie Edwards winning would be good heat for them tomorrow. I would say the same for this match as well. But having a single championship dropped doesn't really make sense for the following match that's going on tomorrow. So with that, I'm going to say Alex Shelley retains. But I would be inclined to say that we will see interference in this match, 100%. There's no doubt in my mind that we won't see Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers come out. There's no doubt in my mind that we won't see Chris Sabin. I don't think we'll see Okada because Okada is actually facing Will Ospreay in the New Japan Pro Wrestling pay-per-view that's also tonight. Has a lot of big names from AEW, things like that on there. But this is a TNA show, folks, and that's what I'm sticking to. So let's go to Sunday, which is also in Las Vegas for TNA, as TNA presents Snake Eyes. Now, there's only 2 matches announced for us that aren't there. We're going to find out more matches, I think, tonight and throughout the day tomorrow. But there's a 6-man tag match, the Motor City Machine Guns and Okada from New Japan Pro Wrestling taking on the most professional wrestling gods in Eddie Edwards, which is Moose, Brian Myers, and Eddie Edwards. As Eddie has been tagging with Brian Myers a little bit. Now, in our interview with Eddie Edwards, Eddie talks about the return of Okada, his past relationship with TNA, hint, hint, it's not good. So make sure you go check that out. YouTube.com at Perched on the Top Rope for that video clip. We also have in a singles match Josh Alexander taking on Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay was very adamant when we interviewed him that he wanted to wrestle a TNA match, not just Impact Wrestling, but TNA. I'm going to say that Will Ospreay wins this match against Josh Alexander. I think it'll be a good feel-good moment for him. And that's it. That's all we know about TNA Snake Eyes, ladies and gentlemen. I hope to find out more information as tonight's pay-per-view goes on. But time will tell, folks. Time will tell. Now, make sure you stay on after I do this, because we have the Eddie Edwards interview that I had done with him coming up next. But before that, make sure you go to Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, Podbean, Podbay, Red Circle, Stitcher, you name it. We're there when it comes to podcasting. It's Perched on the Top Rope. And I want to thank all of you, the listeners, because without you, we wouldn't be here. When it comes to Chartable on Apple Podcasts, we are 54 in the United States and America in sports. We are second in the United States of America for wrestling. We are 39 in Great Britain for wrestling. We are 108 for wrestling in Canada. We're 122 in wrestling for Australia. We're 14 in wrestling in Germany. We're 73 in South Korea for sports. We're number 1 in South Korea for wrestling. We're number 28 in Norway for wrestling. We're 108 in Ireland for wrestling. We are 19 for India in wrestling. We are 22 for United Arab Emirates in wrestling. We are 38 in Nigeria. We are 183 in Egypt for sports. We are 6 for Egypt in wrestling. We are 134 in Algeria for sports. And we are number 8 in Algeria for wrestling. So for all of you who listen, thank you. You can also go watch awesome interviews and great unboxing videos on YouTube at youtube.com/perchedonthetop rope. We're also on Facebook at facebook.com/perchedonthetop rope. We are on X at perchtop rope. We're almost up to 2,000 followers, which we've been literally getting 100 a day. Thank you. You can also find us on Instagram and Threads at Perched on the Top Rope Podcast. We are on TikTok. It's Perched on the Top Rope, where we do Selena scenes recreating the greatest moments in professional wrestling in history using Celine Dion's My Heart Will Go On, because after all, that makes everything better. You can also watch the Taskmaster Kevin Sullivan get humped by a dog if you don't like that. Just saying. And last but not least, you can find us on Twitch at twitch.tv/perchedonthetop rope, where we are playing awesome wrestling games. I am in the top 100 when it comes to Stadium Stampede on Xbox. You can also find us playing Royal Rumble on WWE 2K23, because it is Royal Rumble season, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, spoiler free's the way to be. I'm out. And here's Eddie Edwards.
The following announcement has been paid for by Perched on the Top Rope.
This is TNA wrestler Eddie Edwards, and you're watching Perched on the Top Rope podcast. Check it out. Follow us.
Welcome, everyone, to Perched on the Top Rope. I am your host, Lee Walker, and as you heard from that show opener today, folks, I am joined by TNA's Eddie Edwards. Eddie, first and foremost, congratulations on re-signing with TNA.
Oh yeah, well, thank you, man. Honestly, it wasn't a tough choice for me. It was not a long discussion. It was not a difficult discussion. I am happy to continue being a part of TNA, man.
And it's real incredible, especially with the history you have with TNA. Can you give any insight to how long the new contract will be with TNA?
The foreseeable future, we'll say that.
Okay.
You know what? I mean, I don't want to go anywhere. I'm not trying to go anywhere. This has been my home for the past 10 years at this point. I'm not trying to go anywhere. I want to stay here as long as humanly possible. That is my goal.
Incredible. And while at Bound for Glory, you were actually in the ring when Scott D'Amore announced that TNA was coming back. What was it like for you, and what was going through your mind before he was even giving the speech? The crowd, that sold out crowd, was chanting TNA already. What was that like for you?
It was wild. It was, you could feel, the murmur, and you could feel the fans start to realize what was going on as they're putting the pieces together. And you could feel that buzz and the energy in the building. And when he made that announcement, and when the video finished up and they saw the TNA logo and the reaction from that crowd, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps right now, because that's how it was in the ring. Just the atmosphere was always like, damn, this is, if there's ever any doubt or question on whether or not that should happen, they were all thrown out the window, because at that moment you knew that this was the right decision and this is going to be a great thing for this company.
Yeah, absolutely. And you could tell by the passion in Scott's voice as he held that microphone, announcing TNA was back. It was incredible. Yeah, speaking of the goosebumps, I'm rocking them right now too. Very excited about it, and there's a lot to be excited for when it comes to TNA, especially uh, the new announcement that TNA Plus, the app, is coming back January 5th. The weekly television show, pay-per-views, the full archive, exclusive content, wrestler created content. Eddie, could we see any sort of Eddie Edward related show or some sort of created content from Eddie Edwards on TNA Plus?
You know what? I don't know. I think that the fact that there's options for it is a great thing. And honestly, who knows what the future is going to bring? Nothing set in motion right now. But I think the fact that our company gives the opportunity to wrestlers to have those spots on our app is a great thing. And who knows what happened? I would be happy to, because I think the behind the scenes stuff is always cool to look at. I remember as a fan before I got into wrestling, that was stuff that I really got into because I wanted to be a wrestler. So I wanted to know about behind the scenes, the travel, everything that happened. That's what I wanted to know. So I think it's a good opportunity for us to do stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a big month, January, the new year for TNA. January 5th, the TNA app, TNA Plus app comes back. And we have Hard to Kill January 13th and TNA Snake Eyes January 14th, which you're involved in a six-man tag facing also veterans of TNA, the Motor City Machine Guns, and someone you've never faced before, which is Okada. So, how's it going to feel for you to step in the ring with Okada for the first time?
It's going to be a big main event. There's no denying that fact. The fact that, Okada's coming back to TNA for the first time since 2011, I believe, and the fact that he had certain feelings and issues with the old TNA, the old company. But, the fact that he's coming back, I think really shows how he feels about the new company, about our company as a whole. So I'm looking forward to getting him in that ring and seeing what we can do. I think the team of me, Moose, and Myers is going to be a pretty stacked team. So I'm looking forward to go. Anytime you're in there with the guns is a great time. So to add Okada to that mix, it's going to be a great main event without a doubt.
Awesome. And, speaking of Okada, there's a few other names also making their appearances at these pay-per-views, along with Will Ospreay, who is very open about wanting to wrestle a TNA match, and El Julio del Vikingo. I got to ask, how important is it to have these relationships for TNA?
I think it's very important. And I think it speaks to how good of a company we are, where in the past, some relationships were broken and ruined, in the old regime of this company. But I think everybody's worked very hard from the front office to the locker room to make Impact, make TNA a new destination, and make it be a place where people want to come in and they want to wrestle, they want to be a part of, because they see what we're doing. So the fact that we do have these relationships with different companies and different wrestlers really speaks volumes about what we're doing in and outside the ring.
Absolutely. And, one of those top free agents, besides yourself and PCO re-signing with TNA, Kushida has also been announced that he has signed with TNA. Also, someone you've never faced in the ring. So, is that something we could see in 2024?
I think it's just a matter of time before that happens, and that's another match I'd be looking forward to.
Awesome. And you brought up, teaming with Brian Myers at Snake Eyes on the 14th of January. In recent interviews, your tag team partner Brian Myers himself has referred to you as his best friend in TNA, and that he admires you bell to bell more than probably anybody on the roster. But also Frankie Kazarian, someone you are no stranger to, uh, had quote tweeted you being re-signed to TNA, referring to you as one of the best wrestlers in the world. So I have to ask, what does it mean for you to hear those words and to have such positivity come out of the TNA locker room?
And that honestly, that means everything to me. I've always been somebody who's my main goal is just have the respect of my coworkers, the respect of the wrestlers in the locker room. Because if I have that, then I'm doing something right. Not much else matters as long as the guys and girls that I'm surrounded by are happy for me and respect what I'm doing in that ring, and I have nothing but respect for them. So, anytime somebody says something like that, it really hits you right in the heart.
Awesome. And it's incredible to hear such words, especially with the positivity that's been coming out of TNA. I do have to ask, as you see behind me, I'm a figure collector. You were supposed to be in the first series of the Impact line, the new line that was going to come out. Unfortunately, we do know that it was canceled. Do you think that we could see a new figure line under the TNA banner?
Yes, without a doubt. Yes.
Okay. And does Eddie Edwards want to be part of that figure line? Even you were already part of the first series.
Yes, I do. I have a daughter. I need an action figure. I've never had one in my career. So that is something that I would like to check off the bucket list. And I'd like to be able to give it to my daughter. So hopefully that happens soon. And I think things are in the works. So fingers crossed it happens soon.
Awesome. And with all these big things happening in TNA for 2024, what goals do you have for yourself in TNA for 2024?
It's for me, it's not just about what, goals I have for myself. It's more because we've all gotten to this point together, all the work that we've put in to get back to where we are now, to get TNA back out into the open, back on to the wrestling scene. I just want to do whatever is needed, kind of do whatever we can do to bring TNA to that next level. We're all working for that same goal. That's what we want to do. So I just want to be one of those guys at the forefront of TNA, one of those faces of TNA when people think about it, and just help take us to that next level, whatever it may be. I just want to be one of those guys waving that flag until I can't do it anymore. That is my goal.
Awesome. It's a great goal. And if you could go back to your TNA debut, what would you tell yourself?
Oh man, uh, probably that I have no idea what I'm in for. That's pro wrestling as a whole. And that in that moment, I had no idea what I was in for, and that's a good thing.
Eddie, I want to thank you for taking the time to speak with me today. Um, I would like for you to take the time to plug any social media you would like, and address the fans personally if you'd like.
Yeah, man. Well, first, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Appreciate supporting TNA and supporting pro wrestling as a whole. As far as me, I'm only on Twitter or X or whatever it's called now at the Eddie Edwards. That's where you can find me. And to the fans of pro wrestling, thank you guys for the support over the years. I've been doing this, over 20 years at this point. Thank you all for the support. And you know what? Let's see what we can do in the new year. New year, new goals. Let's get it. TNA is back. Tune in and check us out.
And fans, remember, spoiler free's the way to be. But don't forget January 5th, TNA Plus the app. January 13th, Hard to Kill, and January 14th, Snake Eyes. Eddie, thank you for coming on today. I want to thank TNA for allowing this interview. Fans, spoiler free's the way to be. We're out.